So lovely, warm welcome to everyone into the Sangha Live Dharma Hall this morning. And yeah, I hope it's finding you well. And I see some people are having a bit of sunshine this morning and various other types of conditions. But it's nice to hear of some brightness, some delight in that. And yeah, actually kind of fits with our theme for this week. And if you're not in those external situations, as I see there is a rainy morning in Norway, hopefully that feeling of meeting it with some brightness, with some lightness, it's actually still possible for us. And in a sense, that's what we're exploring as our go into a little bit more as our way of relating to what's here is often much more significant than what we find. So by way of introduction, if you've just coming in for the first time this week, my name's Nathan. I'm guiding the session this week, and we're taking a phrase from one of the last of the Buddha's teachings. I'm just going to move this picture a second, which is, could be translated, let's say, as be a lamp unto yourself, be a light unto your way. And also, may the Dharma be a light unto your way, these teachings and practices. And so I've been feeling how that connects to a sense of confidence and assurance in the teachings, conviction in those things, and also a confidence and a real backing of ourselves in our capacity to meet our experience. And confidence builds from experience, and we're going on quite a radical, quite a profound journey together in meditation, really discovering really different ways of meeting our reality. But yeah, we can do that gradually. It can really be a stepwise, slow, even gentle movement into awakening. Yeah. So we can awaken gently into a really radically different way of being. And I hope that that's what we'll be doing today. So, for some of you, it may feel too fast at certain times, but just know, do what you feel able to do, feel what you feel that you wish to do at this time. That is enough, right? All of these teachings are in and of themselves onward leading. At least, the ones that we're sharing here today. There could be other ways of sharing teachings that wouldn't lead onwardly, maybe quite so much, but most of them do. Almost all of them do. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to explain a little bit another way of moving into this, having that light really shining our way. Quite a boundless light is the sensibility today. And we've already covered, so if you missed it and you want to go back, just that sense of alighting into the here and now, really arriving like a bird on a branch, and we can begin doing a little bit of that already. We also had talked a bit about like an enlightening, which is just letting the unnecessary that can burden us to be unburdened, to become less burdened by everything else as we really move into the experience with a sense of lightness. And yesterday was about delighting our experience, and I'm going to expand from that a little bit. After that, we will have some time for quite a quiet meditation, half an hour or so. I'll drop in a few of the ideas that I've been speaking about, so we can really bring those into being together. And then time for any kind of questions and reflections. And I had some really good questions yesterday. Maybe we can kind of follow up on some of those. They really were really worth bringing into the space, and I'd like to touch on those kind of things and want to make it relevant for everyone here. So really feel invited. Don't hesitate to put any kind of questions to us as a group, and I will do my best to respond to those. There are a few terms that I might use today related to this aspect, this dimension of the teachings, that I often still think about in the Pali, like I use the Pali term. So I may end up using that kind of lingo a little bit, and so apologies for that. And call it out in the chat if you're getting lost, because I've started including a little bit too much of words that feel foreign to us. So yesterday we were practicing appreciation as part of it. And appreciation and joy are actually part of a really skillful way of practicing. And that skillful way has this Pali word, mudita, which actually sounds a little bit like the word mood and eater together. But it's not that it eats our bad moods, although maybe it does. But it's a word that actually just kind of means joy. So it's the practice of joyfulness, the practice of happiness. And as we spoke about, as came in as a quote in the chat also, that really involves gratitude, involves generosity, and those build up really lovely kind of qualities that brighten the heart and mind, awaken the body. And I think we can feel that when there's a moment of appreciation. That's what they do. What that also means is they actually move us into a more subtle way of being. And so again, relates to that alighting and enlightening and delighting. They like flow in together. And the subtle is the somatic, in the body space kind of feeling or felt sense of freedom. So the subtle reveals the free. And to use another Pali word, that relates to the elements of the teachings called samadhi, which is to be more gathered in well-being. The wholehearted, gathered in well-being. We feel like, everything of my experience is here. Body, heart, mind, attention, awareness, intention. They're all guided towards the same thing, this kind of harmonization of the system. And that gets called samadhi. So the appreciation is all part of this area of practice, which is the deepening of well-being. But it's also a relational practice, right? It's a practice that relates to others. And the relational practices have a dimension of them called the Brahma Viharas. Right, so I said, a fair bit of lingo here. So we've got mudita, we've got samadhi, now we have Brahma Viharas. The Brahma Viharas, that word means godly abodes, divine abodes. But that is probably kind of a metaphorical kind of name for this, like they're like the godly abodes, or what godly abodes would be like if we believed in God. So I'm not asking you to believe in anything you don't believe in, but like, if there are gods, where would they live? They would live somewhere sublime. They would live somewhere limitless. Okay, so this feeling, it's subtle, it's sublime, and it's boundless. Okay, so the important thing to take from this phrase is there are boundless relational qualities that we can have. So yesterday we were talking about, can I appreciate more? I appreciate more things, more times, more deeply. Right? All of those boundlessnesses actually do something to the heart and mind, do something to our well-being. As another thing to say about this is, when appreciation comes within this Brahma Vihara, this sublime and limitless relational quality, it starts to relate to how we can take appreciation in the goodness of others. right? Taking joy in others' good fortune, good achievements, good activity, kind of good karma, which is the activity that they're doing, not the fruit. Not like, oh, they have all this because they're a good person. But it's like, they're doing good things. And we know when we do good things, happiness comes to us. Yeah. Happiness comes to us from caring, from being supportive, from putting others' needs ahead of our, kind of less significant greeds and aversions. And we think, well, they actually need some support. And we support them, lift them up, give them a kind word, encouragement, all of that. And how do we feel? We feel good, right? And that's a place where reliable happiness can happen for us when we're aligned with our heart, with our values, and we take the time and give our time wisely, kindly, and somewhat generously. Yeah. So generosity is a really key part here. So the mudita, which is this appreciation and joy, actually becomes generous joy, or sometimes called unselfish joy. Yeah, rather than, so it's actually quite a good antidote to jealousy. It's like, why are they doing so well and I'm not doing so well? Why are they better at meditation than me? And I need to get better at meditation so I can, whatever, beat them. Well, that means. I used to joke with a friend and say, how was the meditation? Said, well, I think I won it today. Kind of just to make that absurdity named, that sometimes we can get a bit competitive in these areas also. Yeah. Of course, I was completely joking, and I have no idea what winning at meditation would mean. But actually, we take a real seat into the place of, I want everyone to do well. And when I see someone doing well, I want my response to be that I take happiness in that. And we could actually do that from a relatively selfish position, which we could say, well, that's more happiness for me, right? Because when I feel happiness for others, I feel more happiness. Don't need to finish that sentence. When I feel more happiness, I feel more happiness, right? So, and this is one of the dimensions of the relational qualities that are divine and limitless, that resonate with a feeling of godly abodes. And the others, just to mention, is compassion, the care for others and wishing them well when they're not having a good time. Yeah. The equanimity, the kind of unequaled radiance of a heart mind that can hold it all and be able to feel it all, but not be swayed and knocked about. Like when our efforts don't seem to be bearing fruit, that equanimity that just keeps us going because we know it's the right thing to do. Yeah, that quality of engagement that has that spaciousness quality. So it's, again, that's limitless and boundless in different ways. Yeah. And all of this kind of encapsulates also a friendly goodwill to ourselves, to others, and everything else, whatever that might mean, everything else, because it's boundless goodwill. And all of that relates to happiness. Yeah, these are ways to create more happiness in ourselves, in our world, in relationships. And it also relates to brightness. It also relates to enlightening. Yeah, enlightening the load, the burden. And of course, it also encourages us to alight more into our experience. So I hope that all makes sense. And by practicing it and seeing that it can work for us, at least some of the time in certain ways, and maybe ultimately it works for us all of the time in every way, once we learn the skill and develop the capacities, then we'll get to see, yes, these paths, these particularities, they build confidence for us. Yeah, build confidence for us. And then, just like how light has the nature to dispel darkness, it doesn't have to make extra effort. That's what it does. It dispels darkness. These practices radiate brightness. They radiate happiness. We radiate these freedom qualities more freely to all beings and into all experiences. Yeah. So the boundlessness teachings are really helpful for when we feel bound in by the limitations of, in the teachings, the three fires of greed, hatred, and delusion, which entangle us into unskillful, unwholesome, unhelpful, dukkha, suffering, stressful ways of relating. And we take those movements and we actually convert the greed into generosity. Yeah. The aversion into that sharpness of mind that sees what's needed here, what isn't here, what could there be more of, and we direct that into these beautiful boundless qualities. So actually turn these fires into a path, and we turn the confusion, delusion, agitation into well-being, and we begin to radiate that to all beings, to all things, and including ourselves, including this body, this heart, this mind. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense by way of, fitting in with what we've been exploring, and also kind of taking us another step. And as I say, I think it's quite a radical, quite a profound kind of step, but it should all still really relate to our direct experience, should be all more or less accessible, at least in a stepwise form. So again, just feeling what's the right posture for you, for your capacity at this moment. And all postures are good. Yeah. Sitting, standing, reclining, walking, all of those kind of postures are good, whatever feels right for you. And how you wish to be in that posture is also a big kind of key factor, and we can include that within the space. So easing yourself into what feels like a comfortable and supportive posture for this time. And really recognizing this is a precious moment for us. Not thinking too much about the ending of the meditation, really giving ourselves the wholeness of time into the beginning well, having a few breaths to experience the breathing, listening to a few sounds, noticing the body, whatever area of attention we're going to, whatever area of experience we're going to bring attention to. So you might want to be resting with the breath, you might want to be practicing with the sounds. Both are fine. I would choose just one. And notice how our listening is, getting familiar with how we are today. So we can notice in those 3 or so breaths we just took, is the body a bit tight? Does it need a bit more space, a bit more softening? Is the experience a bit dull? Do we need a bit more brightness, interest, that curiosity, as if this is the first breath or first sound I've ever heard? And what are they really made of? Where do I feel it most? And just inquiring, how sensitively can you meet the next breath, the next sound, body sensation? How refined, how subtle, how detailed, how delightful. And as you listen into your experience, actually bring it alive in the knowing of the experience. Can you bring it alive with a real sense of the goodwill that's available for you? You can meet this, welcoming it, appreciating it. So just checking in again. If the attention feels too tight or too loose, just imagine like we're tuning a string on an instrument so that it can vibrate. It's not too tight that it's close to snapping or getting rigid. It's not too loose that it's too floppy and can't carry that note. Think of our attention in the same way. It's possible to loosen that attention and still be attentive. Or is it possible to bring a little bit more intensity, really wanting to pay attention to the detail, not miss a moment, without getting too rigid, tight? Just playing a little bit with that for the next few breaths, few sounds. So with that kind of attention that's not too tight, not too loose, bringing it into combination with an awareness that is revealing this body. It's comfortable for you to come into the body. If not, we'll come to other senses later and you can just keep practicing with sound. If it feels possible to feel a sense of your awareness flowing into your body, the whole field of the body, internally and around. You can really take your time here. If there's areas you don't feel so clearly, don't worry, just keep going with the areas that you do feel. That will spread to the rest. So we kind of work with what's working and it'll grow. So for example, if there's some area of the chest I didn't feel there, but I start to feel the belly again, and I felt the shoulders, just feeling those. You feel down to the toes, the back of the body. All the way down the arms, to the fingertips, palms of the hands. And you may notice that it's almost like there's a little bit of energy outside the palms of the hands. It's almost like the palms have sensitivity. You can feel a little bit the space around, right? You can feel what they're contacting, or you can feel the air. Imagine that same sense all the way around the body as well. So it's awareness deep within and a little bit of awareness around the body. So it's like a little cocoon, or it could even become quite large, like an egg of awareness. This body is within. The sensitivity within, however you feel that or relate to that whole body sense. Can there be a feeling of that whole space is actually colored, fragranced with the quality of goodwill? So that as you notice the breath moving through this space or any other body sensation, you appear into an awareness that's fragranced with goodwill. So I'm going to be quiet for a few minutes and just to say, like, there's a few tasks here, but not to think of them like juggling, but kind of composing together as the spacious awareness, the whole body awareness, and the sense of goodwill. They're kind of most important. And then there's a sense of mindfully noticing breath, body sensations arising within this. And that can give us the anchor or the place of interest, perhaps. Trying to keep that whole body goodwill going. So you may notice that the whole body sense can shrink unless we keep extending it, expanding it, allowing it to grow. And it may feel that it takes a lot of effort to do that, and we don't like making an effort in our practice. But I do feel it's something really worth knowing how to do, is create a more expansive experience. So to encourage you to try that, and also to remember maybe, learning to ride a bike as a kid. It takes a lot of effort and attempts before we become really skilled in something, and then it becomes really quite effortless. Right effort is one of the noble path factors in the Dharma. Wholehearted, appropriate effort. You may also notice that the goodwill maybe needs a little bit of encouragement, like stoking a fire to get it going. And many of you will know that we can use words to cultivate, support, and create those feelings. Use words like welcome, this breath, sensations welcome and cared for. Really allowed in, allowed to be this way. There's also a goodwill in releasing it. So welcomed, cared for, allowed, and released. And so if you're already practicing with the sounds, then maybe we'll join you in this practice now, opening our sensitivity to the sounds in our environment. Still with that sense of a nice widespread awareness, but now not just in the body and around the body, but really extending into the whole hearing sphere. Amazingly distant horizon of sounds. All of that included within an awareness that's fragranced with goodwill. Behind us, above us, beneath us, in all directions around. And whatever arises as an appearance in this awareness, known. Welcomed and cared for, as much as it feels possible. Allowed and released. If you can, keep expanding out that awareness, the whole listening sphere, that sense of goodwill. So we've directed the awareness to the whole body, deep into the body, the sensations, the appearances of the body, out into the sounds. Let's actually have a little tour through our other senses. We can taste flavors on the tongue, in the mouth, letting those be welcomed, cared for, allowed and released as they move through. An amazing tongue that reveals it all, and also involves the nose in taste. And we can include the aromas that we can smell. However faintly welcomed, cared for, allowed and released. So that tactile body sense, that sound sphere, now this taste and aromas within that. There's also a capacity to know the heart-mind state, if it feels contracted or spacious. Maybe any thoughts that are flowing through, any emotions or moods. Keeping that awareness quite widely spread, quite radiant and bright. As we just notice that, and also appearances that can be welcomed and cared for, allowed and released. Awareness is big enough for this. Also, if the eyes are closed, there's still a sense of the visual. We can include that as well. If the eyes are open, or you wish to open them, you can also include the visual without losing that wider sense of an awareness which is rich with goodwill. Whatever we see is welcomed, Whatever light is reflected on the back of the eyes or any visions that we experience, cared for and allowed to be whatever way they are for now, and released. And coming back again to that sense of the body, the heart, the mind in this awareness. Within the body, these sense objects are being known by our sensory organs, the ears, the eyes, the nose, the tongue, the whole tactile skin, the brain. And all of this can be welcomed, cared for, appreciated. What a gift. And allowed to be however they are for us right now. And released from demands. And we just close out with a few more minutes, just breathing or listening with a wide sense of awareness and a sense of care and kindness, allowing and releasing as they pass through. In this moment, softening, noticing maybe how less bound our experience might be feeling. Of course, as we practice in these ways, it can also generate irritation. That's also a possibility. But whatever it is, our perseverance, our creativity, our good fortune, just take a moment appreciating ourselves and those around us who've supported us to be here. Say a few more words as we move into the space where we can have a bit more conversation, communication. But I really appreciate that having this end of meditation process where we tune in and we feel what it is that we've created and we appreciate what it is that we've been able to do. It reminds me of something. A few of these ideas I'm going to say today, you may have come across these before. I don't know if other people are talking about them, but I certainly have spoken about them before. That closing out, it reminds me of a victory lap. When we have a track and field event where people run around a track and they give everything they can to kind of get all the way around. Sometimes it's like that in our meditation. I gave everything I could just to be able to make it through, or I gave everything I could to really appreciate, to really radiate goodwill, to really stretch out that awareness. It took a lot of effort. And at the end, we have our victory lap. Yeah. So again, jokingly, as if we've won the meditation. But then we run around the track waving, waving flags and waving at the crowd and our supporters and kind of just celebrating in that meditation. And I wonder if that actually also can support a sense of confidence in ourselves, because we're noticing I did this. I made that effort, I tuned in, I cultivated, I created more well-being, a less bound experience, a less dukkha experience. I did that. And I can recall and recognize that this is something possible for me. And I'm really confident in the sense that our increased confidence is something quite important to dive into, to develop, to cultivate. And I hope that the way I'm sharing these teachings and these practices, there's enough space for your own creativity and you feel invited into it. You feel capable of taking it at your right pace, and it's working for you in all of those ways. But it really takes effort and creativity from each of our sides. So it's worth having a victory lap of some kind at the end of your meditation. You're doing a lot to make this possible. And moments of appreciation do seem to align well to moments of happiness. Moments of gratitude, moments of generosity. They're all path makers. So really thank you for your practice, and thank you for sharing it with us. And maybe I'll just take a moment actually also to mention, thank you to Sangha Live for creating this platform and doing all of that work behind the scenes so that we have a place to come into and a place to do these practices. And, your participation over time is really what actually makes it worthwhile for Sangha Live to put that effort in. There's a real reciprocal movement here that's building over time. And so beautiful that this offering that kind of arose out of times of where we were more socially distant, that we could have a place to come together, to practice together, to explore together. And that Sangha Live has just kept that going with these daily meditations and the various other offerings that they have. Thank you to all of you who've been able to, give something, however big or small, financially, to be able to support this to be happening. And also to let you know, I also receive from that for the week that I'm doing. Donations that are given until tomorrow, Friday, will also be shared with me. So that's really a great way that you can support the platform. It's a great way you can support those who come here to share their teachings and practices. And, it's an absolute pleasure to be here doing this. But it's also really deeply appreciated if you're able to contribute financially. But if you're not, I love the fact that this is freely offered, so that, when we really need this support, we're able to take it without any questions, without any, may I please. It's just come. Everyone can come. If you liked it today and you think someone or anyone you don't know might wish to come, and you can spread the word to them, you can invite them in. There's no expectation anyone needs to give anything. This is paid for. It's done. It's yours freely given in that spirit. And if you wish to pay it forwards by inviting them in, or pay it forwards by making a financial contribution if you feel able to, that's beautiful. And please do it, and we'll keep this Dharma wheel turning in these particular ways. So I'm interested, are there any questions or reflections from you? Is this a way of practicing that you already do and already feel really kind of resonant with, and you're into that kind of expanding awareness and radiating it with qualities of goodwill? Or is that a bit different? Is it new? Did it touch you? Did it support you in any kind of ways? Yeah, so Janie, great question. Yeah, I'm curious about the irritated one that pops up so quickly. So I guess that, you're actually using a really lovely phrase, the irritated one. So there's a lovely concept that's carried into the Dharma. I'm not sure where it comes from, and I'm not sure who particularly is propagating this idea, but that we are a community. Yeah. Within ourselves also, and we have the irritated one pops up and says, oh, I don't want to do this, and we have also other ones also there, or potentially there, which are like, yeah, I really want to get to know the irritated one. Where did you come from? What can I get to know about you? So the curious one has popped up and the irritated one have popped up. And who's dominating the space? Who is getting more time in this meeting? Sometimes we could think of ourselves as a bit like the chair of the meeting, or the host of the gathering, and it's just like, curious one, I really want to know, what are you really wanting to know about the irritated one? Are you wanting to get to know the irritated one to get rid of them? Because maybe you're just looking in the mirror, right? The irritated one about the irritated one, the one that feels, you're not welcome here. We're trying to have some wholesomeness, and you've come in disturbing it. The whole of the wholesomeness would be only complete if you weren't here, which is, obviously that's a contradiction in terms. So that irritated part of us, why doesn't it feel welcome to be here? Why doesn't it feel comfortable to be here? Have we overstretched, overpushed? Yeah, we've gone into a strain instead of a stretch. Yeah. The irritated one can also turn up from a sense of not being good enough, right? We're doing something that's really profound, really radical, really amazing, to actually send goodwill to everyone, everything, right? Every sensation, sound, experience that we can have. We covered it all in that meditation to some degree. Yeah? All the sense doors were done. You don't know anything outside the sense doors, right? You can intuit it, but you can think it, right? We included thoughts. Okay, so there's nothing outside of that, and that's a really profound thing to do. But have we really nourished ourselves enough? All parts of ourselves enough? Yeah. So there's all of that side, but there can be another thing, which is like, if you're irritated by, say, somebody guiding a meditation and they're talking more than we would like at this particular time, yeah, that's completely fine, right? You don't have to love every moment of existence, right? I didn't use terms for this goodwill that sometimes get used, which is like a loving kindness to all things. I don't think you need to love, and depends on your definition of kindness, right? But I don't think you have to love everything equally. That would be kind of an absurd request of you. But can you have goodwill for everyone? Yeah, and understand, oh, this is probably good for someone, but maybe it's not good for me at this time. Yeah, it's very precise. It's not good for me. It's not good for me, but it's not good for me at this time. Maybe I don't need guided meditations, and I get irritated by them. It's like, okay, well, then come to the guided meditation bit, or listen to this afterwards so that you can skip it. Don't listen live, whatever it is, or just be here in the Sangha, but have it muted. I just have to turn the volume off. Like, one of the great things about the online experience is, we control it, right? So it's like, I'm going to turn him off for this bit. I'll turn him on back again later, or her, or them, whatever. Yeah. So yeah, really hope that kind of speaks to that. it's always a little bit tricky in these kind of chat response dialogues. So I may have missed the point. I tried to speak to a few different points that could be coming up there. But yeah, in a sense, can the irritation also be welcomed in? And that might be exactly what it needs, because our irritation about being irritated probably is adding more irritation. Yeah, so it could be part of the path there. And then we can really get to understand, why is that coming up? Do I need to make a change, or do I need to change the relationship? Both of those are possible for us. Both of those can speak to freedom. Yeah. Great. Well, I've really enjoyed being with you today to explore this. And we had a question before about, like, how much should I practice? And I will kind of come back around to that. But I would say set yourself a practice goal that's large enough that it feels like, yeah, I would have time to settle. I would have time to arrive fully. I'd have time to cultivate the kind of qualities I want to see in my life. That might be 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes, depends on each of us. And see if I can set myself the challenge to do that once a day, if possible. But I actually want to speak a little bit more about having even a bigger, wider scope of understanding what that might mean. Practicing more times of the day, practicing in different postures, practicing in smaller little nuggets, practicing in elongated periods. I think we need all of that fullness of creativity so that we can, kind of fully develop as a light unto ourselves. So there's a lot more to kind of point towards, and I'll share more notes and reference points and articles and things that we can kind of go into with more of that. And I just saw there's a question from Elena that I'll also relate to. Yeah, I think it is possible to do more, to be more comfortable in our meditation than we may already know about. So I definitely take note of that and come back to you on that one. All right, well, I hope I'll see you tomorrow, or be with you tomorrow, or you'll be able to catch up with this recording, because there's still a little bit more I want to touch into, and I hope that this has been a good teaching and practice for you today. All right, wish you well. Take care.